Making a film this bad is a skill. Renner is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my entire life, and out of all the movies that have come out in 2025, I feel like not a lot of people is talking about this movie, mainly because it's kind of like an indie film and there wasn't really any marketing behind it. I remember one time seeing this trailer for other movies and I saw that it had Frankie Muniz in it, and I told myself, oh, I'll just write this down for the future, I'll get to it one day, and today is that day. And I kid you not, I think there is a movie that rivals War of the Worlds that came out this year. I'm not joking. The movie is just that bad. There are so many things wrong with this movie. I think it's important that I just start talking about the plot, so if you don't want to know, honestly, I would just leave this video because I'm going to be spoiling the entire plot. If you really want to see a bad movie, please watch Renner. So the movie Renner, directed by Robert Ripberger, is an American science fiction thriller that has Frankie Muniz, Violet Bean, Taylor Gray, and Marcia Gray Harden. And I kid you not, that is literally the only 4 characters you need to really know about. Now, I don't know what contract Frankie Muniz has in order to come back for the Malcolm in the Middle reunion franchise, but I guarantee you whatever he did, this was just not it. This was not necessary. But the plot is about this man named Renner who is a very smart man and designs an AI that's supposed to be like a life coach and to help him with everyday chores and being healthy and clean and all that. And he really wants to use this bot so he can find love. And his interest is this character, Jamie, who lives on the other side of the apartment complex. Like literally they're like 10 feet away. And he uses certain strategies to try to run into her. And eventually there's a moment where she introduces herself to him and they plan on dating and hanging out, and then she brings her brother and it starts a relationship, and so begins the plot. And within the first minutes of this film, you can easily tell where this whole story is going to go. It is so obvious that Jamie is only building a relationship with this character because she plans on robbing him and taking the AI and selling it on the market. It was mentioned in the film that he doesn't really sell this AI because he wants to use it for himself and make sure it's at an affordable price for other people out there. What a nice guy. And by nice guy, I mean that very literal. He is a Reddit nice guy, and that'll be apparent as I talk throughout the review. So yeah, these characters go on a few dates. The first one is kind of awkward because Jamie's brother is there and making things very intense, and this is basically a tactic of manipulation because she is trying to get in with Frankie Muniz or whatever the fuck his name is, Renner. And after a few dates, they also end up having a sexual relationship, and she learns more about Frankie's character, like how he lives, the passcodes and everything, so she can then steal the AI. Then one day, as he's about ready to leave, he notices that Jamie is actually coming to his house. After knocking a few times, she eventually just walks on in because she has a key to the house somehow. I guess she forged it. And then Renner hides and he overhears everything that they're talking about and then realizes that he's been lied to. Oh no. He then goes and takes his revenge and fucking tortures Jamie and Chad. And then he also finds out that Jamie and Chad are actually dating. They're not really brothers. And yes, there's a moment in this movie where Chad is being referred to as a Chad. Just shows the level of writing with this film, how great it is. Yeah, let's have a character named Chad and let's have him actually act like the version of Chad that nice guys refer to. This movie just couldn't fucking help itself, I guess. Yeah, then after some confrontations, like Renner realizes that the AI has actually been using him to like build this type of relationship to better himself as well, and like no one really stole the code or stole the AI programming. They just couldn't get in somehow. Renner realizes this and tries to save Jamie, but before that he also killed Chad basically. And so they dismantle the AI robot, Jamie is freed, and they kind of build a relationship, and then at the end of the movie, I kid you not, Renner is literally shot in the face by, I guess, the guy that they were going to sell the AI to, and Jamie just walks away. Then the movie ends. That's the entire plot, and I'm now going to talk about everything about it. Let's just start with the acting. I don't think anyone did great in this film at all. No one did a believable performance. It all felt so tacky and cheesy and like no one truly gave a shit. I can't help but think the material given to these actors was also just something written by AI. Like maybe it wanted to tell the story of a real life nice guy from Reddit. And for those who don't really know what that is, look it up. It's really funny, and the videos about these type of people are just honestly hilarious. And speaking of the writing, everything in this movie was so predictable from the first 20 minutes. I kid you not, as I was watching this film, I thought of like multiple scenarios of where this movie was going to go. This movie was not subtle at all. It basically told you in your face what was going to happen. Like, yeah, of course, this obvious girl who you don't know, you don't have any idea who she is, you don't have a relationship, and she all of a sudden finds interest in you, and you're by the way, Renner is like a millionaire and very rich because of his technology, so of course people are interested in him for his money, but Renner is too stupid and blinded by love to understand this and not really love anyway. I mentioned it earlier while talking about the plot, but it turns out that the AI that Renner builds is evil. Kind of. It's based off of his mom, which we find out throughout the film was basically abusive towards him. And we're also told in a plot synopsis that the AI robot is being manipulating towards Renner. And while that may be true, in reality, the mom was just basically abusive towards Renner. But I guess it was just so important that Renner builds this AI robot around his mom, which was very abusive. That's so healthy, guys. Wow, really, what a great movie. What a great message. But back to what I was saying, like, this movie was just extremely predictable. You could tell that she was there to just rob his ass. Any rational thinking person would understand what's going on. But again, Renner is this like introvert, nice guy type of person, so he doesn't understand these things. This type of like love and feelings he has towards Jamie, he doesn't really have this and experience it with much people because he's to himself a lot. I feel like also Renner is just, like I mentioned before, a giant idiot, because it's like you live in this very expensive apartment complex with elevators and it looks very nice. It's more than likely expensive, and yet your neighbor over there that lives not that far away is telling you these stories of how she's struggling and she's trying to take care of her brother as well as her mom, and her brother's jobless, and she's just so happy that she ran into you and, you know, you're in his life. Like, Renner just doesn't pick up on these things at all, and the movie expects us to just think this is just believable. Yeah, trust me, bro, I'm definitely like in a bad situation. Don't question the fact that I'm living in the exact same apartment complex as you. Another thing with this movie is that the film implies that Renner has OCD, and he exhibits this by constantly cleaning and always being like a neat freak around the house. But we also learn that he's kind of a germaphobe, and this doesn't help that his AI mom is also feeding this into him. So that's another reason why he's like cleaning all the time, because he wants to be as clean as possible. And I swear the movie treats these things as if they're the same thing, but it's very commonly well known that OCD and being a germaphobe is not the same fucking thing. It's almost as if whoever wrote this movie just clearly spends most of his time on Reddit. Oh wait. Yeah, I also can't help that the material given to everyone also in this film was just not anything great. Like, how are you supposed to make a good movie when this is like a Reddit story? This movie has no setting whatsoever. Nothing interesting is visually shown in this film at all. There is apartment A, hallway, and apartment B. That is it. Whenever Renner is going to work, he does a lot of rituals like cleaning himself and organizing and cleaning the house, and he always like goes to work. But the film quite literally never shows him going to work. We don't even know what he truly does for work. I guess we're just supposed to believe he's just an AI bro who spends his day on his computer and does meetings and reads emails and all that. We don't even know what happens outside of these apartments. For all we know, this is like a simulation. Like, the movie just cuts back to where Frankie is just coming back home. And I know I keep saying Frankie, that happens, but you know what I mean. We just don't get to see Renner act like anything outside of what he does in his apartments. And it almost seems so fucking weird that the majority of the scenes with Renner, the character, is just him being alone. And that plays into even feeling for the character because we don't know anything about him. But yes, the setting is very bad. This movie could not have tried less, even if it wanted to. There was some okay camera shots here and there, and then there was one scene where like Jamie was about to be released from being tortured towards the end of the film, and Renner brought her a glass of water, and they did this very interesting camera shot, but nothing like that ever happens in the film again. Speaking of camera shots, I am completely convinced that this film reused so many shots. There are so many times where Renner is specifically cleaning, and the film uses these same shots from earlier in the film. I'm very convinced that they didn't record new ones. There's even this one scene where he's locking the door after the third or second date one of those days, and he has to lock the door twice. I'm so convinced that they just played the same scene of him locking his two locks over each other. This movie is so fucking lazy. It's just so bad with its editing. They truly didn't give a fuck at all. The budget for the editing must have been like $5, right? There was some really bad music in this film. They might as well have not have had a music or a soundtrack at all. I'm very convinced half of the songs that were played in this movie were just middle schoolers like tapping away on a keyboard thinking they were really, you know, special, and they just used that for the soundtrack. There was also times where Renner was using his records to play music, and the music they played, my girlfriend actually made a comment and said that this music sounds like elevator music. Also, she mentioned that he doesn't have any protective sleeves on the record, so they're just like out and about, like not being properly taken care of. And I bring this up because Renner says that he really cares about like physical media when it comes to music. And this rich millionaire guy can't even be bothered to truly take care of the records. And also he uses them as antiques. So it's like, what the fuck are you even doing, man? But yeah, the music was lazy, boring. It was just non-existent. If there was any song, it was not like anything to even remember. So yeah, the characters. I've said before that Renner is basically a Reddit nice guy. Jamie is the girl that Renner wants in these nice guy stories if you ever read them. And Chad is literally Chad. I literally don't need to say anything else about this character because everything you need to know about him is in his name itself. I am not joking. The AI is, of course, like supposed to be like an imitation of Renner's mom, who was very abusive towards him. And throughout the film, like I mentioned earlier, you do get to hear stories of what she used to do to him, like making him like pick up the Monopoly board and clean it right and do all these things. But like I said, it was just so important that the AI had to replicate this type of behavior towards him. I don't know. He said it was like supposed to be a life coach to help him find love. But yeah, also with the characters, there was just no chemistry between Jamie and Renner at all. If you told me that these two were supposed to be characters to fall in love, I would not believe it at all. There is no chemistry, nothing to bounce back between each other with these two. They are so dry. I'm convinced that these two actors didn't even really like each other in real life. And I can only imagine how uncomfortable it must have been having to do like kissing scenes and also like implied sex scenes, because yeah, those were in this film, so I guess get ready for that. Jamie just also acts like a complete troglodyte throughout this whole film as well, and the type of troglodyte that only a Reddit nice guy would write about. She like walks around when she goes into the apartment for the first day and takes off her shoes and walking around in her bare feet. She's also supposed to be like very forward with what she's trying to do. Like she's made it very clear that she is trying to like have sex with Renner, and obviously that is to manipulate him. Her character herself is also just a stereotype where it's like the girl you thought you could trust happens to be a liar. The movie implied that she was supposed to be this sweet, innocent girl who's just trying to make some money and get on her feet and help her family, but no, they later show off this character with like tattoos all over her with like a slightly different hairstyle, where it's like she was an edgy girl all along and she was with Chad the whole time. And yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like the movie lied and mentioned that Chad is her brother, but it turns out they were actually lovers. Yeah, literally there's nothing else to mention in this film. When it comes to characters, that is. And you know, for a sci-fi movie, this movie really wasn't that sci-fi. Like, yeah, we have AI chatbots nowadays to give us advice and give us articles when we randomly need it. But nothing else in this movie was shown off that was very, like, cool and futuristic and sci-fi. And I know this movie isn't, like, supposed to be that far into the future, but it could have done something more. This movie feels like it was a movie from 2018 or 19, but also 2025. If anything, if people even watch this movie looking back, they're just gonna see this and think it's a parody. Speaking of which, this movie just feels like a TikTok movie. It just has all the typical tropes of a TikTok movie where it's like characters are cliche and the most predictable thing ever happens. There's characters who are just extremely like angry all of a sudden out of nowhere and aggressive. And you have like characters, like I mentioned, who are just like memes, just actual stereotypes and memes. I am honestly appalled about the type of movie that I talked about, and there's not really much else I want to talk about left. This is unironically one of the worst films that have come out in 2025, and I am honestly shocked that no one else is talking about this piece of shit. I'm not joking. It's up there with like the worst movies that have come out this year, and more people need to talk about it. I don't think it's as bad as like War of the Worlds, but this is definitely one of the movies where it's like, if you just want to laugh at it for how awful it is, yeah, go ahead and watch this movie. 1 out of 10. What did you honestly expect? There is nothing likable about this movie. I'm actually just glad that the movie was over. Like, there was even times where I just got up and made myself a bowl of ice cream because I could just predict what was gonna happen. There was just no stakes. There was nothing important going on. It was just super lazy, predictable, cheesy. Just obviously a Redditor made this movie, and I feel bad for the actors involved. Honestly, this was just an embarrassment of a film, and no one else should ever make anything like this ever again. I hope the director can learn lessons from this and improve, because who knows, maybe he can make something crazy in the future. That's really great. But for now, this was an embarrassment, and yeah, really bad. Don't watch it, or watch it if you do want to watch it, because it's bad. Watch if you like bad movies. So yeah, that's all I really want to talk about with this. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to see me talk about next? Talk about it. Let me know. I'll see you in another one.